Hello learners, I am Parikshit and welcome to another very exciting session on Unacademy CAT-alyst. In today's session, we are going to talk about how to master and score 99 plus percentile in the quants section of your CAT. Remember, quants is the third and the last section, and by the time most aspirants reach this section, you're already drained of your energy. Hence, another reason why students don't do well in the last section is because you are already tired, your mind is already exhausted. Hence, it's very essential that you have a proper strategy in place to crack the quant section with a 99 plus percentile. Today, I'm going to share the secrets which toppers have followed year after year to score a 99 plus percentile in this very important section of the CAT. With just 10 days away to the D-Day, remember, now is the time to focus and fine-tune your strategy. You should not miss even one important point when it comes to having the right strategy in place. Today's video is going to talk about in details every strategy, every tips and tricks that you need to have in place for the D-Day. Let's get started with today's class. So this is me, Parikshit Saikia, your educator on Unacademy with amongst the highest live class ratings thanks to my learners. New batches are starting on Unacademy in the next few days. So we have CAT and OMAT batches starting live in the next few days. If you wish to subscribe, remember you got to have a plus subscription. And if you need discounts at any point of time, remember to use the code Parikshit Live, which is there on your screen. This code will give you maximum discounts, and B, it will also give you free mentorship from my side. And mentorship is all about helping you beyond your class hours to crack this amazing CAT entrance examination. Let's get started with today's class. Okay, so we have today, right, the secrets to doing well in your quant section. So quant's strategy for a 99 plus percentile. Quant's strategy for a 99 plus percentile. Correct? Fine. First and the foremost thing. It is essential that in 60 minutes, you first find out, you first observe how many questions are there. Ideally, the number of questions in 60 minutes should range anywhere between 20 to 23. Between 20 to 23, and that will be a surprise. Especially if you are in slot 1, this number is going to be a surprise. Now, whatever be the case, doesn't matter whether it is 20 or 23. I believe 23 is better. Why? You know what? If you get 23 questions, you will have more choices. It's like, you know what, a buffet. More the options, the better it becomes, because you can pick and choose what you want. If it is 20, the choices will reduce. Hence, do not pray or do not get confused or do not get frightened if the number of questions is more, because that's what you'd want that to be. Correct? Always, I would suggest, if whatever be the number of questions, irrespective of that, try to attempt your quant section in 3 rounds. Round 1, round 2, and round 3. What are these 3 rounds? In round 1, pick up what we call sitters. What are sitters? Sitters means pick up those questions which are single liners, just one liners, okay, or probably two liners. But these are questions which you have done before. So very important. If you are prepared well, you have, what questions are we talking about in round 1? Those questions which you have done before in the class or done before in your notes, but somewhere you have done before. Or these are one liners. Moment you read that one line, immediately you know whether you'll be able to solve it or you cannot solve it, correct? Very, very, very essential. So done before or one liners. And then the third thing will be familiarity with the topic. Familiarity. You know what? You have always been very, very good in PNC. Let's say you are perfect in PNC. You love PNC and probability, and you get a question on PNC probability on the day of your exam. Probably you'd want to pick up in round 1 because this is your strongest area. What do I mean in round 1, round 2 and round 3? In round 1, which should last for approximately 15 minutes, I want you to go from question number 1 to the last question. Question number 1 to the very last question. So at least I don't want you to read every question. That's humanly impossible. Glance at the questions, and in those 15 minutes, try to pick up at least 7 questions, right? 7 questions out of the 23 which are doable. Correct? Very, very, very important. And there hasn't been a single CAT exam in the last 6-7 years where 7 questions aren't doable in the quants. Remember, there are some questions which are going to be very easy. It's your strategy here, and it's your preparation. It's your skill which will help you identify these 6-7 questions. So round 1 to 23, but you are going to pick up those 7 questions which you can easily solve. Now, one more thing you need to do in round 1. Apart from attempting 7 questions, right? Apart from attempting 7 questions, you also got to do something extra. What is that extra? You are going to use this button, mark for review. Mark for review. Right? Remember, in round 1, there might be a question, let's say a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram is usually 3-4 liners, right? It's generally not a one liner. It's generally a 3-4 liner, could be even 5 liners. You are confident about Venn diagram, but in round 1, you would not want to attempt that question. Why? Probably there are 5 lines. It would take time to read, and it could also be you don't know the difficulty level of the question. So you're just going to mark that question for review. Use this button judiciously. You do not want to mark for review every question which has appeared on your screen. Not every question, right? Because if you do that, if you mark every question for review, you do not know which question to come back and try again. That will not be possible. But if you use this button judiciously, and let's say you mark around 7 to 8 questions, 7 to 8 questions only, 7 you have attempted, and another 7 to 8 questions you have marked for review, then one thing is clear. You know what? In the last 25 minutes, remember 40 minutes paper, first 15 minutes are gone, you still have 25 minutes left. You have identified those 7 to 8 questions which you'd want to solve, Remember, 7 plus 8 makes it 15 questions. 7 plus 8, 7 in the round 1, and another 7 to 8 which you want to try makes it 15. Out of 15 questions, even if you are able to solve 13 or probably 12, you would end up with a 99 plus percentile. You would end up with a 99 plus percentile. One thing is worth mentioning here, is definitely worth mentioning here. Let me share some statistics with you. Let me share some statistics with you. Okay? Some statistics with you. If you look at the last 7 years data, you know what? The cutoff for quants has always been in the 50 to 50% of the net score. 50 to 55% of the net score. Correct? 50 to 55% of the net score. Correct? When I say 50 to 55%, it's generally on the higher side. LRDI, it's around 45% correct. Remember, LRDI in recent years have become tough. So even if you can get 45% of the total marks, you are going to crack the exam with a 99 plus percentile. But in quants, the last 2-3 years, the paper is easy. Unlike LRDI, which is getting difficult year after year, quants is actually becoming easier year after year. Why? The rationale is very simple. They say engineers have an undue advantage in this section. And you know about the IIMs, right? They need diversity. They give a lot of emphasis to diversity factors. They do not want non-engineers to be at a disadvantage when it comes to the quant section. Hence, they generally have the quant section relatively easy so that engineers and non-engineers are in the level playing field. Because of which the quants cutoff has actually gone up to around 55%. Okay, of the net score. What does it mean? It means if there are 20 questions, let's say as an example, there are 20 questions. 20 questions would mean 60 marks. Into 3 is 60 marks. So how much can you expect the quants cutoff to be? Based on the last 7 years data, you can expect the quants cutoff for a 99 plus percentile to be around 33 marks, just over 50%, just over 50%. So if you are looking at 60 marks, 20 questions, you want to get around 11 to 12 correct, 11 to 12 correct. And trust me, when I say attempt 7 questions in round 1 and another 7 to 8 questions you have figured out, which you want to try in the next 25 minutes, 14, 15 questions, out of these you get 11, 12 correct, and you are through. And you are through. Hence, important that you use the mark for review button very, very judiciously. And also important that do not get stuck in a question. It could be you have always got time and distance questions correct, but on the day of the exam, you know what? There is a time and distance question. You have spent 4 minutes, but you are still not getting the answer. Very much possible. We are all humans. It could be I am a master of something, right? Virat Kohli is one of the finest players on planet Earth. But it could be just on that day he scores a duck. It could be, right? So for you also, you need to realize you might have forgotten something. There is some concept which you might have missed out, and it is not worth trying a question for more than 4 minutes. You generally should take 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But if you end up spending 4 minutes, and even then you are not getting the answer, it would be foolish. It would be criminal to spend more time on this question. Rather, mark the question for review on your rough sheet. Mention somewhere on the top right, mention question number 13. Come back, because you already have done half of it. But rather go to the next question. Don't spend more time. The last thing you'd want is 10 minutes for one single question for just 3 mere marks, right? 3 marks. That is definitely not acceptable. That is definitely not acceptable. Correct? Fine. I talked about round 1 and round 2. Correct? What do you want to attempt in round 1 and what do you want to attempt in round 2? Correct? Now, how much time should you spend for round 2? Again, very important that quants always got to be attempted in rounds. Quants always got to be attempted in rounds. If you look at any topper's interview, okay, even they will tell you that they have always attempted quants in 3 rounds in the CAT. So round 1, as I said, right? How much time would you want to devote? You would want to devote around 15 minutes. So 1 to 15 minutes. 1 to 15 minutes. Correct? How many questions are you targeting? You are targeting approximately around 7 questions in round 1. 7 questions in round 1. What is round 2? Round 2 would be another 15 minutes, but again 16 to 38 minutes. 16 to 38 minutes you are targeting round 2. You know what? This time you will not be able to solve 7 of them. Why? Remember round 1 where the sitters were the easy questions. You could easily solve 7 out of the 15. But in round 2, you'd probably get only around, let's say, 3 to 4 questions correct. Even if you get 3 to 4 questions correct, right? 3 to 4 questions correct, you have done your job. You are now at around 11. You are almost cleared the cutoffs. Anything you do in the last 10 minutes, 31 to the 48 minute, 31 to the 48 minute, you know what? You would have cleared the cutoff easily. I would suggest round 3, okay? Round 3 should generally be questions which are calculation intensive. Round 3 should generally be questions which are calculation intensive. I keep repeating this in all my strategy videos. Why do I say so? And there is a rationale behind it. Calculation intensive question in the last 10 minutes of your paper. Why do I say so? The logic is very simple. When you see the timer running out, it's showing 7 minutes left, it's showing 6 minutes left, then 5 minutes left. We are all humans. Our brain will be under a lot of pressure. You'll see that the time is almost ending and it will not be able to focus the way you wanted your brain to think, right? So if your brain is normally at 100% efficiency, in the last 10 minutes of the paper, because of a lot of stress, your brain probably will at best be around 60 to 70% efficiency. You definitely would not want to solve a very logical caselet or a very logical question in the quant section in the last 10 minutes. You would rather want to solve a question which is mechanical, which probably uses a calculator and is all about speed and is all about calculations. Why? Because if you're doing calculations, chances are that even if your brain is at 70% efficiency, you will get such questions correct. On the contrary, if you want to solve a logical based question in the last 10 minutes, right, with 70% efficiency, you might not end up getting the correct answer. You might not end up getting the correct answer. Very essential that the last 10 minutes are left for calculation intensive questions. Correct? Fine. How many questions can you attempt in the last 10 minutes? Even two, or probably if you can attempt three of them, I mean, all yours, right? You've cleared the cutoffs. Remember, I told you 55% net score is what is your target. 55% net score is your target, assuming the difficulty level is like the last 7-year CAT papers, right? Last 7 years CAT papers, correct? So if you are targeting 55% net score around, let's say there are 20 questions, you are targeting around 11 questions. Around 11 questions is what you are targeting, right? Around 11. If that is the case, remember, you would not want to attempt 11. You would want to attempt 13 to 14 because, again, humans, we can't have 100% accuracy. You might get 2 of them wrong. You might get 3 of them wrong. Hence, keep a buffer. How much buffer should you keep? The buffer would depend on your accuracy in the mocks. If you see that in the mocks, your accuracy is high, you might not want to attempt more questions in the actual CAT. You don't want that. Why? You know that around 11 is what your target. Even if you attempt 12 to 13, you have a high accuracy, you will be through. But in the mocks, if you realize your accuracy is around 70% only, to get 11 questions correct, you probably have to attempt around 15 of them because you know that you are not very good at accuracy. 3-4 of them will go wrong. Hence, that buffer essential. That buffer absolute requirement. Some of you might be having a close to 100% accuracy. For you, 11 to 12 attempts or probably 13 attempts would suffice. But for others with low accuracy, more attempts, a bit more with a buffer is desirable and advisable. Correct? This was your quant strategy on the day of your exam. Now, how do you study quants in these last few days? In this last few days, with just over a week left, right? With just over a week left, how do you prepare for quants? Okay, how do you prepare? Now, first thing is strategy prior to your exam. Prior to exam, right? Prior to exam. Fine. Prior to exam. Now, how do you do this? Remember, these 8 days, you don't want to do something. Let's say geometry. Do you want to do complete geometry today? Don't do that. One thing is sure, whatever hours you are studying for quants, whatever that hour, okay, around 50% of your preparation of your quants preparation, okay, 50% of your quants preparation, okay, in this last few days, you should devote to arithmetic. 50% of your quants preparation should be devoted to arithmetic. Very, very, very essential. Almost every year, after year, almost every year, you know what? 35% of the total questions, or if there are 20 questions, you can expect around 6, 7, 8 questions, right, from arithmetic. Which chapters are we talking about in arithmetic? We are talking about percentage, profit loss discount, simple interest, compound interest, time and work, time and distance, average, mixtures, allegations, and then ratio, proportion, variation. Correct? So these 7 chapters in arithmetic, you got to be mastering this, because if you do well in arithmetic, chances are that you will end up with a very, very high percentile. So always remember, arithmetic is most important. And if you ask me what is most important after arithmetic, got to be algebra. Got to be algebra. So arithmetic and algebra, you got to master it. If you are not good at P and C today, as we stand with just over a week remaining, trust me, you can't be a master in P and C in the next 5 days. If you have never understood P and C, you can't be mastering P and C so soon. Why? We hardly have time. But arithmetic and algebra is one area. Doesn't matter whether you are good at it or bad. At the end of the day, you got to master it. What about PNC? Am I asking you to leave PNC? I'm not saying that. What I'm only saying is that whatever knowledge you have of PNC is fine. Probably another few questions, probably another 5 questions per day of PNC. You end up solving another 50 questions before your exam. I think that's good enough. But more focus should be on arithmetic and algebra. Having said that, the next thing that is important is in these last few days, do mix revision. Mix revision. Mix revision. What do I mean by mix revision? What do I mean by mix revision? Mix revision. What do I mean by mix revision? Mix revision means you got to be practicing, not chapter wise, but mixed questions. So today, if you sit for, let's say, you want to study today for 5 hours. You want to study today for 5 hours once. In the 5 hours, divide the time slot. Probably first 30 minutes. 30 minutes, you'd want to do, you know what, percentage question. Next 30 minutes, you'd want to do profit loss discount. Next 30 minutes, you'd want to do, let's say, time and work. Similarly, divide the time slot. Divide the time slot. Do not, I repeat, do not keep studying one chapter. Why? What is the problem there? Think about it. What students tell me, and I've been teaching for almost a decade now, right? Over 8, 9 years now. Every time students tell me, sir, I don't remember what I studied. There is so much. And yeah, again, we are all humans. This is normal, right? We are not superhumans. We are humans, and this is absolutely normal. Today, if you study, let's say, time, speed, and distance, okay, and you study for the next 20 hours continuously, time, speed, and distance, you will master it. Undoubtedly, you will master it. But the problem is, 7 days remaining. Come next Sunday, next week Sunday, the 28th. How many hours? 24. We have, let's say, 8 more days. So 24 into 8. Let's say that many hours would have passed. 200 hours would have passed. And in 200 hours, some of you would even forget that. And it is essential that you don't do time, speed, and distance just today, but you keep in touch on time, speed, and distance almost every day, so that come next week, Friday, the 26th, you never feel that it's been 10 days since I last studied time, speed, and distance. Every day, you're practicing all chapters. If not all, at least 40% of the chapters. Today, if you do percentage, profit loss, time, and work, tomorrow you might want to do average, mixtures, allocation, ratio, proportion, variation, like that. Divide the chapters, but do mix revision every day. What about mocks? What about mocks? How many more mocks should you write? I think at this stage, not more than one mock. One or max to max 2 mocks. Not more than one mock or max to max 2 mocks. Not more than that. Definitely not more than 2 mocks. What is more important at this stage is whatever previous mocks you have attempted, you got to revise those mocks. You got to revise all your previous mocks. Do not attempt any more new mocks. Remember, you don't do well, you end up with a low score. You don't want to go to the exam hall with a low motivation, with a low confidence level, right? You don't want to do that. Rather than giving a new mock, revise all mocks. Okay. Do you revise the entire mock? No. What will you revise? Only easy and moderate questions. Only easy and moderate questions. Only easy and moderate questions. That should suffice. That should suffice. Why that should suffice? Remember, the difficult questions, even if you get it on the day of the exam, right? With just 40 minutes, you might not even want to attempt the difficult question. You might not even want to attempt the difficult question, right? With just 40 minutes left for your exam, in your exam for quants, even if you get the difficult question, you would not want to attempt it. That's reason number one. Reason number two, if you spend time solving the difficult questions, you might end up solving only one question in 20 minutes. But if you practice and revise the easy and the moderate questions, in 20 minutes, you might have solved 5 questions. And that's what we are looking at today, right? The probability of the same difficult question appearing on the exam is very, very less. Hence, essential that you practice more, you practice the easy and the moderate ones, because on the day of the exam, it's perfect if you miss out on a difficult one. You cannot solve. I could not solve. You could not solve. None, I mean, very few of them could solve. Fine, that's acceptable. But if you miss out on something which the remaining 2 lakh students are getting it correct, but you are getting it wrong, you know what? You will fall behind in the percentile when it comes to the percentile. So you don't want to miss out on anything which others will get it correct. So you definitely want to get all of them correct, what others are getting, plus a few questions more correct compared to, I mean, what others are not getting. That will help you end up with a 99 plus percentile. Correct? Again, very, very, very important things, right? Next thing, I would also recommend, and I would highly recommend, okay, that in these next few days, whenever you study, please write down any formula that you come across and that you believe is not there in your mind at this point of time. You have come across a formula, let's say suddenly you come across a formula, but it's not there in your mind. Chances are that you might forget it again. You might forget it again. The last thing you'd want is forgetting a formula. So if there is any formula or theorem, okay, which is there and which you come across while revising in this last few days, please note it down, note it down so that one day before you will revise. One day before revise. One day before, just revise. One day before, you don't have to solve new sums. One day before, you don't have to practice. But what you definitely would want to do is revise. The classic example I give, and it holds true for 95% of the students. One day before your exam, you don't remember what's a circumcenter. You don't remember what's an orthocenter. You don't remember what is the angle bisector theorem, or for that matter, what is the Apollonius theorem, right? These theorems, right? You got to remember them. And if there is a chance you might forget them, please revise them 10 minutes a day rather than keeping this for the last day. The last day, you'll be under a lot of stress and you might not be able to recall, let alone by heart, anything new. Correct? So very important that one day before your exam, whatever thing you feel that you might forget and it requires prior knowledge, write it down. Specifically, geometry, which two chapters specifically? Other chapters are okay. Even if you forget, you might use common sense and get the answer. But 2 chapters definitely call for formulas and theorems. One is geometry, and the next one is 3D mensuration, right? 3D mensuration. 3D mensuration. Do you remember how do you find out the surface area of a prism, of a volume of a prism? You might be knowing a cube, you might be knowing a cuboid. Do you know a prism? Do you know a tetrahedron? Right? So such figures, okay, where there are chances of you going wrong, remember them. I mean, it's essential that you know them. Fine? Also, also, what else you would want to do a day before your CAT? Anything that you all want to do before your CAT, right? You definitely want to note it down. Yes? Okay, let's take questions which people are asking. How many questions to be there of arithmetic portion? Arithmetic, as I mentioned some time back, yes, will be around 35% weightage. Arithmetic, how much is arithmetic for? You must be knowing the weightage, right? In case you don't, arithmetic around 35% weightage. Around 35% weightage in the arithmetic. Generally, you can expect in the CAT. 35 to 40 in fact. Next will be algebra. Next will be algebra with around 30% weightage. Will be around 30% weightage. It means if you do well only in these 2 sections, if you do well, very, very, very well in these 2 sections, it will help you clear your cutoffs. It will help you clear your cutoffs. Hence, prepare these 2 topics, these 2 blocks really, really well. Also, sometimes I've seen students forgetting the formulas that you learn in the number system chapter. Example, sum of factors, number of factors, right? Right? Number of numbers which are co-prime to a number. So if someone has done the chapter, you know what I'm talking about, right? Number of numbers which are co-prime to a number, right? Sum of the numbers, sum of the factors, okay? Number of factors, all these things. If you feel that you might forget, you definitely would want to revise them a day prior to your CAT. Correct? Yes. I think I would not touch much more on this. I would not touch more. I would not want to stretch it. But these are few things, and these are must-do things which you should follow before your CAT. Which you should follow before your CAT. Should you want to get a 99 plus percent? Okay. A few quick announcements. A few quick announcements at this stage. A few quick announcements at this stage. Correct? Let's go with a few quick announcements at this stage. First thing, the iconic subscription. The iconic subscription. For those of you who are interested in the iconic subscription, remember the prices are shown here. And if you need discounts, use my code Parikshit Live. That will get you maximum discounts and will also give you free mentorship from my side. And yes, few days left for your CAT. The countdown series has started. 18th of November onwards, we have a lot of questions, a lot of series, a lot of classes coming up absolutely free. You can join them. And if you have not registered on Unacademy, use my code Parikshit Live for registering absolutely free. And how to start your preparation? It's also available. So everything is available for those of you who are interested in just your energy and time and the intent is what we ask for, right? Everything else we are going to provide. CAT Mega Combat is scheduled 21st November 5 p.m. Make sure you register and a lot of prizes to be won. And anytime you have doubts, make use of the Ask a Doubt feature on Unacademy. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the session. And in case you have any queries, you can always comment, put in the comments, and I'll be more than glad to answer them. Thank you and have a great evening ahead. I'm sure all of you are going to do well in your CAT.